Hello, welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. I have a great acrylic project for you today, and it is strictly beginners. I'm going to show how to do some winter trees with just one brush. And yep, really one brush. So I want to start off by showing you what I've done so far. And all I've done was I used a roller and I put on this black paint, which is a wonderful product from DecoArt. It's Americana Satin Enamels, okay? And it says furniture and cabinets and more. So I used the more, and I actually used it on my canvas, and it gave it a little bit of a sheen, and it filled in the tooth of the canvas. So I'm very pleased with this for the canvas. So I'm going to put that out of the way, and I am going to get started. I'm going to be using just a really big filbert brush and just basic colors. You can see I have just primary colors here, some white, and I'll be using some black. So what I'll be doing is making just a little bit of a winter scene, and I wanted to do something very simple so beginners can just jump right in. You don't need any experience for this. You don't have to learn any brush strokes, okay? So just to get started, I'm going to take a little bit of white on this big filbert. Now in between here you might see a little something dripping, okay? And what that is, it's a little bit of a medium, and this is a DecoArt Traditions medium. Let me find the bottle so I can show it to you. And it is extender and blending medium, and it does help the paint kind of blend out a little further than if you didn't use it, and it's a nice mixing tool. I may or may not need it, but it dripped around, so I guess I'll be using it no matter what now. And along the bottom of the screen, we will run the names of the paints that I'm showing and that I'll be using, okay? So here we go. I'm just taking some white, and I'm going to just start by doing a little bit of strokes in the middle. And I want to leave a lot of this black showing, okay? So you can see I'm just lightly going up and down. Like I said, anybody can do this. You can see I'm just brushing back and forth and back and forth. Then I'm gonna, without even washing the brush, I'm going into some yellow. And I'm just gonna come in, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow here, and just thinking about what it may look like in that night Alaska sky. There's some yellow. Again, I'm leaving some of that black showing through. Now I'm going to be going into some of the red. There we go. Now the red, I may add a little bit of that white in there, just to tone it down, make it a little bit pinky. Now it may not be the accurate colors of what happens in Alaska and all, but this is how we're going to start our painting, because I want you to see how we can just mix the colors. We mix a little bit of that, and there's some orange. And it'll just look pretty. It'll just be a pretty painting. May not be accurate as to how science really is there, but it's going to look pretty, okay? Now, without even washing the brush, I'm going into some blue. All right, there we go. And I'll come and I'm going to put some blue. So that blue's not showing so much. I'll add a little bit more blue. And I'll start up here. We just want some of it to peek through. If I really see that it's not showing, I'll add a little bit of white. And that'll make it a little bit of a lighter blue. So I'm going to put some of this blue on both sides. There we go. Now I can see that a little bit more. Want to come up to the top of the canvas. So you can see, again, I'm just using this filbert, and you could use this, you could also use a straight brush. You don't have to use a filbert. I just want to show you that you can pretty much use one brush to do trees and to make a pretty sky. Okay, so I have some more blue I think we'll put in there. Got plenty on my palette here. Might as well use a little bit more of it. Some nice blue, okay. And maybe I'll come in, get a little white, see? Just mixing. Again, this is acrylic paint. I usually paint in oil, but I do acrylics also. Just my primary medium is oil, but I love this paint. This DecoArt has this wonderful paint, so it inspires me to try to do a few extra projects using the acrylic. These colors are just beautiful. All right, there we go. Maybe I'll come in, and you know what? I'm going to just rinse this out a little tiny bit. I have a water basin here. Just rinsing it out. I'll pat it dry in a little paper towel just to get some of that blue out. I'm going to come back into that white. Just want to put a little bit of extra white in there in the middle. So I'm just strengthening the color a little, just so it kind of sticks out. Maybe come over here. So I'm just kind of getting a little creative and just putting these lines in. Maybe I can try to blend it a little. Okay, so hopefully my arm wasn't in the way. So we just have a really pretty sky there, okay? Very, very simple. Now, what I'm going to do is, on the bottom, we're going to have some snow and some trees in there. So I'm going to come in with some white. Now, I'm using the black as a tool as shadow, so I won't cover all of the black. And that'll help me to get a little bit of a shadow in there, okay? So you can see, I'll just make up a lay of the land here. Doesn't have to be straight. If I come down here, it might look like a little hill, and you can see I'm leaving some of that black showing, and it does look like a little bit of shadow. Now I can always also come in there and I can put in some blue, which I may do if I have a little time. I'll try to dress it up a little bit. But you can see it's starting to come along the painting just by throwing this paint on. You can see I'm almost covered with the whole canvas already. And this is a 16 by 20. This is just a student grade canvas, so it has big teeth in there. You might be able to see the lining in here. And it's fine to use a student grade canvas. It's just if you're doing a more formal painting, you may just have to go over it a few times or use an X stroke to cover in those little teeth in the canvas, okay? So this, if you can just imagine, is just some snow, and I can add more snow later after I get some of these trees in, okay? There we go, just adding, 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 all right? And I may say, you know, up here, I may come in and make it a little darker, not darker snow, sorry, a little whiter, and that'll really start to look like the snow and the shadows. So I'll just come in and maybe put this little part like this. Now, like I said, I'm still using the same filbert brush. I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to get some trees in, and then I could always come back and work on the snow more, okay? So I'm just going to rinse this off a little bit. So I'm just rubbing it along the bottom, patting it on a paper towel. Just in case you can't see down here, I'm just patting it on paper towel. I'm going to take a clean plate, and I'm going to go to black. This one is called Carbon Black, and the Traditions brand. DecoArt has a whole bunch of different acrylic paints. This one just happens to be the Traditions. And it comes in the 1 ounce bottles, but it really goes a long way. So don't be deterred by the small bottle. It really is a great paint, and it really moves along the canvas. All right, so you can see how nice and shiny and black that is. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you how to make a tree using the same brush, okay? Now, most often we use fan brushes to make trees, but I want to show you that if you're a beginner, you can just come in with a large filbert and you can actually make a tree, all right? So I'm going to start by just adding the line here, okay? Doesn't have to be straight, and it's a good thing because I didn't make it straight. Coming back, getting more paint. Now, here is the little bit of movement. I'm just going to tap, and I'm turning the brush. Now, I'm not going to call it a stroke because all I'm doing is patting. All I'm doing is using the shape of the brush and patting back and forth, okay? Now I'm going to actually slow down a little bit because I think I have enough time to do my trees. So I'm going to try to teach a little bit more and say a little more about what I'm doing so I can help you better. Okay, so I'm just loading the brush again, back and forth. All right, now I'll move it up just in case. Back and forth. Now, using the chisel edge of the brush, I'm tapping. I'm going in, I guess you could call a Z. Okay, so if I was going this way in a Z pattern, I'm not going to call it a stroke because all I'm doing is tapping. All right, now as I get down to the bottom, I'll make the tree get bigger. All right, so it'll get bigger and bigger as we go to the bottom. All you have to do is think about the tree shape like a holiday tree. I'm doing a Z and I'm spreading it out a little more. Then if I see I'm getting too blocked in with paint, it's all right. If I see a portion I may want to add a couple more, I could just come in like this after you stand back, and you could add more. So again, I'm going to come in and do my Z pattern. I'm down at the bottom of the tree now, and I'm just widening it up a little bit, and I'm filling it in, because at the bottom, usually the tree won't show too much of the background, but that's okay, I have a little bit. Now, when I go over and I put the white on, it's okay if that tree is still a little bit wet. If it's too wet, it'll pick up too much black. If it's just a little wet, it's okay, because you'll have all shading in there. You'll have some grays, you'll have some, light tones, mid-tones, and that's what you want. Okay, so what I'll do is, since I have this black on the brush, I'll go and put in my other trees. So I think what I'll do is I'll put a smaller one right about here. So I'll just come in, get my tree trunk in there, and I'll start again. So again, all I'm doing is tapping, and see, I'm turning the brush and tapping, and I'm thinking of the shape of the tree. Tapping, there's the Z pattern. You can see the Z pattern. All right, Z, Z, Z. Like I said, I hope that some of you will try this. It's just another way. If you're using a smaller brush, of course, then you need to use a smaller canvas, okay? Since this brush is so big, it will make these big trees without hardly any effort at all. All right, so tap, tap, tap. I want to see some of those nice designs from the brush. And I'm starting to get down here a little, so I'll start to widen it up a bit. Going a little wider, pushing a little harder. I'm going to turn the brush over just so I can get the paint off the other side. And you can see I'm using the corner round part of the filbert. All right, here we go. Now, I would have used a nice Dynasty brand, has some great brushes, but I didn't have this big one. So I said, okay, I'm going to improvise today and use this regular acrylic one-stroke brush, which seems to be working fine. All right, so there we go. There is another tree. And as I'm looking at this one, I can see, I don't know if you can see with the camera there, but some of it is still wet, okay? So that's okay. We'll see when we get to it how dry it is, because it really only takes a few minutes to dry, which is nice. And I'll put one more tree. I'm going to make this tree, let's see, I may even make this a dominant tree, make it even taller than the other one. Oh, look at that. All the way about here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have the bottom of the tree at different levels, okay? And I'm doing 3 trees. I would recommend you always do an uneven amount. When you make an even amount, the viewer's eye seems to group it into 2s, okay? So you don't want them looking at pairs, all right? Pairs of objects, I should say. Here we go. So I'm turning the brush and back and forth, back and forth. There again is the Z pattern. Now, I'm not going to start making this one bigger till I get a little bit past half. Otherwise, it's going to be huge on the bottom, which is, I learned from my mistakes, what happened when I did my little practice. All right, so we don't want it that big. So I'm on an angle, so I can see it's coming out on an angle. So excuse that. I think you can see which way I'm going with this, okay? There we go. And that's good that some of that background color is going to peek through a little bit. All right, and that's what we want. Now you can see the black is on top of black, but you can still see it. And what's really going to show is when I start to put the white on, all right? So it's a little hard to see right now, but promise you'll be able to see it much better. Now that snow down at the bottom there is dry. So, oops, I put a little bit too much paint on there. So see what happened? I got a big, thick amount of paint down there. And let me just fill this in. I can use some of that paint and I can move it up. I could just spread it out a little bit just so it doesn't look like a big amount. Okay, so I can add a little bit more in here, try to even out the look of the tree. There we go. All right, so I filled it in. Some of the snow is showing through. That's okay too. What I could do is even come in, pull some of this out. It'll just look like a little bit of a darker shadow. And I have black on the brush, so I can just pull some out. I could even go in with some blue. So we'll see how much time. So just kind of make it a little darker on the bottom, okay? So that's it for the black for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wash this out. I'll put my black down. We'll get that out of the way, make sure I don't spill it. Oh, actually, I'm going to move it way out of the way. I don't trust myself. All right, so I'm just taking a water basin, which has a gridding on the bottom. So these are great water basins, okay? Let me see if you can hear. Okay, so that's the noise that it makes when you know you're cleaning your brush properly. because that means that the paint is coming out of the ferrule of the brush, okay, in case any got in there. So I'm rubbing it along the bottom of that water basin. These are nice water basins. They're from One Stroke. You could always go to One Stroke and pick one of those up, but they have other ones with grading. I'm going to just pick up a paper towel here and wipe my brush a little bit. All right, now I can see that this tree is really wet. This one's about 90% dry. This one almost dry. So I'm going to give it a shot with the white now. All right, so I will go back to my palette of white, and I know I will need more white paint. This is called opaque white. Okay, so of course there's a lot of different whites you can use. You don't necessarily have to use the opaque. Use what you have and give it a try. Don't worry about finding exactly that same white, okay? So like I said, primary colors here. All right, here we go. Here's some white on the brush. I'm loading it the same way. Now what I want to do is I want to accent the tree with the white by going where I already went with the black. Okay, but I'm not going to cover it all. We want the black showing through. So you can see again, I'm doing the Z stroke. Now see here, there's some gray that just got picked up, and that's okay. I didn't like how that looks, so you know what? I'm going to bring some of that gray right up there. Now, I want some of this black to show through, and I have a habit of overdoing it, that I cover the tree so much with the white, okay, that I don't see the black, all right? So again, I'm just going to try to come on top and a little bit on the side, still do my Z stroke, my Z pattern, and I see I missed a little bit of Z pattern, so I'm just tapping in there, okay? There we go. So this is how I'm laying this snow on here. Now, of course, I'm going a little fast, so at home, take your time, pay attention to your Z stroke. You can see at the bottom, I'm not so much worried about that Z stroke. All right, now that was a lot of paint there. I'm a little heavy-handed today, so just try to be a little bit more delicate. You'll get your snow in there. All right, there we go. So you can see I do have some gray and white in there. I'll wipe off my brush a little, and I want to just stand back a bit. Okay, there we go. Now I'll come and I will do the next tree that I did. Since they're drying in order, of course, as I painted them, all right? Same thing, I'll come back in. Maybe I won't add as much on this. All right, there we go. Back and forth, back and forth. Like I said, we want to leave some black. I'm going to leave a little more black showing in this one. This is a little closer. I like the idea of having it a little darker to make it show that it's a little closer. Okay, and now we have this big tree, big tree. Hopefully my arm will only block for a second, okay? So same thing. I'm going over again, and here we go. So I'm putting a little less in this one. All right, and you can see now I'm just kind of still going back and forth. I'm not paying so much attention to that Z pattern as I did when I first did it. First put the black on, all right? Okay, some more white. I have to be more careful not to get too much white on there. Otherwise, then I ended up with the big blob like I did over there. We want to try to avoid that if we can, but it's still fixable. All right, now I'm getting into an area where I could see is wet. There we go, there's some gray. All right, so I got gray because it just mixed it together, and that's fine. All right. Now, the trees, of course, if you wanted to actually make them holiday trees, you can just come back on here, and maybe I will show you. If you did want to make them holiday trees, you could just take the end of your brush, dip it in the paint, and you can just start dotting like this. All right? And you can come in, put whatever colors. You could get some nice gold shiny paint. So this is just an example, just because I still had enough time to show you something else. And you can come in and you can dot it, make it look like holiday trees too. So that's always fun. It's nice to leave it as is, or you can see with that little bit of pop of color what it does to it. All right, so I think that I just want to come back in before I get rid of this white and lay on some heavier white. So now is the time you step back and look at your painting and see where you want to, change a little bit. So this would be the adjustment time. So I just went over that shadow, but that's okay. I kind of like how the white looks better. And my white is a little gray because I didn't wash the brush. So I think you get the idea of it though. All right, I hope you do. If not, you feel free to write to me. I'll be happy to help you. But like I said, I am purposely leaving this some of this gray background showing, and I wasn't worried that my brush wasn't real clean, because you can see it looks like shadows. Now, what you can do if you feel like you want more shadows is you could just go into the blue, all right? Now this blue is, let me just look again, it is the ultramarine. And you can come on and you can even come in and put some blue in there. And sometimes you put a little blue and that even helps it more look like a shadow, okay, than just a gray. So that's up to you. I mean, but you could work on this, and like I keep saying, take your time. See, I got some blue in there. It looks like more of a shadow. So maybe we'll put a little more blue down here. Okay, so now you can see some more shadow. And that's how you would just keep working and working it. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can take a script liner. And I'm going to get my black paint back again. All right, here's the script liner. And I'm just coming to the end of the pile of paint, puddle of paint, and rolling my brush around. I did dip it in water to loosen it up. And with my arm up, I can come in and I can just start pulling some grasses up. All right, so that's something you can do. There we go, a little grass here and there. Just give it a little more dimension. And I'm just using the tip, and you can see I'm just flicking it, and the black paint is running off a little and it turned gray, and that's good too. That's how you get all your variations of color. So I'm just kind of swirling it, have it go up, have it be a little smaller in the background here and a little bigger in the foreground, showing that it's closer. That's a good way you can give some depth to your painting, have things in the foreground bigger than the background. All right, come over here, put a few more. So that you can add as many as you want. Now, I like the idea of having this color in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with my, my large brush again, okay? I'm just going to wipe it off a little so it doesn't drip all over me. And I'm going to go into the yellow, okay? I'm just going to dot some of these trees. Dot some of these yellow on the tree, I mean. Here we go. All right. There we go. Maybe we'll put some blue in this one. Get some blue. You can see those are bigger. So you can add whatever colors you want. Now it's turning a little green because I had some yellow on there. That's okay. Just to give you another idea, like I said, you don't have to do this. If you have younger kids, they would have a ball doing this, okay? And this is a project for anybody. Again, I'm only using 2 brushes for this painting so far, okay? The last thing I want to do is I want to show you how to put some snow on. All right, so I'm just going to throw my brush in the water there, and I'm going to get some more white paint. There we go. So, and I see I got some paint all over me, and I guess I'll worry about that later. This is opaque white again. Snapping it off. It's great you can snap these off with one finger, so you don't have to keep putting your palette down. Now, this is when you can make a mess. All right, but this is fun. I'm going to dip a fan brush. I just happen to have one of my oil fan brushes here. And I'm going to make a liquid white paint. So I just dipped it in the water. Okay, and there's my liquid white paint. Now, you know what? Before I do stars, all right, I'm just going to put a little bit more white up here while I have this clean brush, just to make it look like a little reflection. I just thought of that, okay? So just threw a little white in there, all right? Just to show that that's maybe a little reflection from up there, all right? Since I had a nice sorry, a nice clean brush. I got a little bit of something in there and kind of clean that off. So I'll go back in my liquidy white, all right? Now, what I'm going to do, whoops, almost dropped that. I'm just getting some white on here, and this is how you spatter or splatter stars on. There's my fan brush all loaded with paint. I'm taking my finger and pulling back the bristles. Now, if it's not coming off, then I have to make it a little liquidy, a little more liquidy, and maybe use a little more paint. So I'm pulling a little bit more paint down. I'm going to dip just a little bit in the water. We don't want it too liquidy or it'll drip. So it should be like a milky, like a milky substance. So you have to kind of try. What I do when I teach this in my classes is we practice on a piece of paper first, all right, to see if we get the right consistency. It might be okay. We'll see. All right, so here we go. I'm going to try in this end just in case it's not okay. All right, so I'm trying to get some of this off. There we go. Here. Now this really makes a difference because now it's a nice snowy scene, besides having the snow. And good thing we put some plastic back there, because I just flung some in the back of the canvas. Okay, there we go. You can see now it looks like it's snowing. All right. Now you could add as much snow as you want, of course. You want it to look like a blizzard, then you just keep adding it. I have a tendency to always add a lot of snow. Oops, I just really flung some on there. So that was another little oops, but I think it's okay. You can see I have some big dots and some small dots. So what I'll do is I'll take advantage, if I can find my little brush I had before, must be in the water, there it is. I will take advantage of those little dots, okay? And I'll show you what I'll do. I can come in with my, my liner brush, and I'm hoping you can see my hands under the way. I can take one of these dots and use the paint and just pull it out. Now it looks like a little star up in the sky. All right, here's another dot. I can pull that out. Now, of course, if you don't have enough dots to do that, you could always just add a dot of paint. Okay, here's another one. Isn't that fun? So now I have some stars, sparkling stars up in the sky. So let me get rid of this brush, wipe off my finger a little bit, and we're just about done here. I mean, I could add more dots and add some more grasses, and I would call this painting finished. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed watching, and I'll just do a couple more little grasses on the bottom, and you can take a peek when you get a chance, and feel free to call me, okay? So I'm going to put a little darker ones down here. I have another minute, so let me just show you. When you add some darks in the front, there you go. Makes everything look behind it, okay? So like I said, you can add as many colors as you want. It would be fun to add gold or silver paint. You can get metallic paint. Also, DecoArt has some very nice metallics. You can throw some sparkle in there. It depends on how crafty you want to be. There is a lot that you can do with this, okay? So again, this is all done with acrylic. You can see I only used a few brushes, okay? And let's add a little more grass down here. Some darker grass in the front. You can see how it's starting to come along. And that would be it for my lesson today. I hope you enjoyed watching, while I'm adding a few more little grasses here. And last thing would be to sign the painting. So again, I'm using a script liner to sign. Just in case I didn't tell you before in other videos, other shows, if you use your script liner, it's the best way to sign, okay? So on the tip of the brush, writing out my name. And there we have it. A nice little winter scene. Thanks again for viewing me, and come back and see my other shows.